chase, and no matter what, I may live it. Put that on everything. I got a dream to chase, and no matter what, I may live it.
President of Rotary Club of Nairobi Madaraka. Welcome to our fourth meeting for the Rotary year 2021-2022. It's a pleasure to have all of you here. I officially call this meeting to order and we shall begin. I would like to invite Rotarian Corinne Batty to lead us with the Rotary Grace. Corinne?
Sorry, good evening, everyone. Thanks, President Wilson. Sorry, it's one of those Mondays I'm on transit, but we can together say the grace. Let's say the grace together. For our food in a world where we may walk with hunger, for faith in a world where we may walk in fear, for friends in a world where many walk alone, we give our grateful thanks to thee, O Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Corinne, for that. I will now like to propose a toast. If you have a glass, charge it. If you don't, hand over heart. And this is a toast to the President of the Republic of Kenya, to the President. Thank you so much. I would like now to invite Rotarian Henry Ndirangu, to lead us in the four-way test.
Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you so much, Rotarian Henry. At this juncture, I'd like to invite visiting Rotarians, visiting guests, and visiting Rotaractors to do a brief introduction of themselves and the club they represent and their classification. I'll start this by my screen here. I see Crispian, welcome again. Please introduce yourself again, please.
Hello, how are you? This is Chris Kirk, here for a second time. I am from the Crystal City, Washington, D.C. Rotary, and I just moved to Nairobi. So I am happy to attend you all's Rotary session. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us once again. I see Innocent.
Thank you, President Wilson. So Innocent here from the Great Rotaract Club of Yua and Afia, also working. But I couldn't miss this session. So classification medicine, happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Innocent. I see Kalpa Padia, if I'm saying that right.
Good evening, President Wilson. This is Kalpa Padia from Rotary Club of Nairobi. Classification is manufacturing.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
I see Lucy Shiri.
Hi, Lucy Moshiri here, Rotary Club of Nairobi Thika Road. My first time with Nairobi, Madaraka, classification social sciences.
Glad to have you. Thanks so much for coming. I see, Rashmi. Please introduce yourself again, once again.
Good evening, President Wilson and other club members. I'm Rashmi Chok from Rotary Club of Nairobi. I'm logging in from Delhi. It's a pleasure to be here. and my classification is digital.
Thank you so much for joining us. And finally, I see Winnie, all the way from Germany.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, President Wilson and fellow Rotarians. My name is Winnie. I come from Rotary Club of Nairobi, although I just relocated to Germany. And my classification is hospitality. It's great to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Winnie, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have guests. We love guests in Madaraka. Now I'll move to the next session where we will do announcements. I'd like to start off this announcement by inviting Rotarian Lydia Ndirango to start us off. Lydia.
Thank you, President Wilson. So over the weekend, on Saturday, we had a project in Embu, which was a blackboard painting project and a tree planting project. We had two schools that we were carrying out the project in, Kimangaru Primary School and JN Mwonge Primary School. So we planted 17 trees in Kimangaru Primary, and then 117 trees in Mwonge Primary. And then we painted about 10 blackboards. I feel like there were more, but there were about 10 blackboards. And we had raised a total of 32,440 shillings, which now went into buying the paint and buying the seedlings and all the equipment we needed for both activities. In total, we were 32 members from both Rotary Club of Nairobi Madaraka and Embu Novel. We had 7 members from Nairobi Madaraka, and next time we hope will be more members from our club. Yeah, but we had so much fun, and the Swallowship had clearly more than the 32, so it was quite something, and we had a very good welcome from the Rotary Club of Embu and their Rotaract Club. So yeah, next time we hope to see you. Thank you. Back to you, President.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for that. I'd like now to invite Victor Muto to do an announcement. Sorry, Victor.
Mr. President, good evening to everyone, fellow Rotarians and Rotaractors. My announcement is on installation of President Wilson. So we've just confirmed the date, and we've already shared the poster. It will be on 28th of August. This week we'll be confirming the cost and the time. Yeah, we look forward to having everyone there, and having a good time. So looking forward to seeing you all there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muto. So save the date, 28th of August. Ritesh, you're invited for that, for my installation. And everyone else in the meeting. So I'd like to sort of extend this announcement, just allow Rotarian Keshi Mukuria to say her announcement to our treasurer. Rotarian Keshi, go ahead.
Good evening, fellow Rotarians and friends and family of Rotary. My announcement is to the members with regards to membership subscriptions. It's end month, so kindly let's purpose and make our payments. We have received the RI invoices and the country invoices, and we'd like to make payments by the end of this month. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rotarian Keshi. I'd like now to invite our Vice President, Rotarian Joel Wandura, to give his announcement.
Good evening, Rotarians. Thank you, Mr. President. My announcement is in regards to the Maktaba project. We have finalized with the questionnaire. I will be sending it out to the members who then can now propose their schools. And we are hoping to have at least this month, August and September, just to finalize on the list of schools that we shall be engaging with going forward. Thank you. Once you get that, please endeavor to fill it to the best of your knowledge. It shall be used going forward, and it will also be used in terms of accountability once the project kicks off. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice President. I would like to open the floor for any visiting Rotarian or Rotaractor who has an announcement. You could raise your hand. Okay, thank you so much. So I'd like now to move on to our guest speaker for today. And I will invite Rotarian Victor Muto to do the introduction for the guest speaker. Muto.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. I have the distinct honor of introducing my very good friend and a person who's a role model to me in Rotary, IPP Ritesh Barrett. Ritesh was born and raised in Kenya. He's a fourth-generation Kenyan. He pursued higher education in London and holds an MSc in Business Finance. Ritesh is the director of Bako Hiring and Leasing Limited and Bako Investments, which is an investing and financial. He's also an investor and an financial analyst, writer, and business columnist for multiple publications, including the leading national newspaper Daily Nation. Having received much media attention from both local and international media owing to his height, he has used the media platform to champion causes in support and aid the physically challenged and is a passionate humanitarian. Ritesh is also a certified NLP, neuro-linguistic programming life coach, and an accomplished watercolorist, having held several exhibitions, and his art has featured multiple times in the acclaimed Kenya Art Diary. He was the youngest recipient of the national honor of the Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya, OGW, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta on 1st June 2017. In the Rotary journey, Ritesh has served in multiple capacities on the club boards since his induction into membership on 24th March 2016. Besides serving in the club, Ritesh has also in the past served as a fundraising chair of the 39th Annual Search and Rally, Cancer Awareness Secretary for District 9212, and Communications Director for the international event Rotary Day at the UN, held in Kenya in the year 2018. At the age of 37, Ritesh took over presidency during the milestone 90th year of Rotary Club of Nairobi, the flagship Rotary Club in East and Central Africa. So fellow members, fellow Rotarians and Rotaractors, please welcome Ritesh Barrett.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Rotarian Victor, for that wonderful introduction. And first, I'd like to begin by saying congratulations, President Wilson. This is the beginning of the new Rotary. And I'd just like to say thank you for this opportunity. I'm truly honored and humbled to be in a position to actually speak at Rotary Club of Madaraka. I have many friends, and a big hello to all members of Rotary Club of Madaraka. So I'm just going to share a screen, actually, if you'll allow me. I'd like to know, whilst I'm sharing a screen, and allow me just to pick randomly at individuals. President Wilson, according to you, what is art?
I think art is an expression of some people's feelings. I think that's what you express is a way to way. That's my thinking.
That is true. I'd like to pick on past President Henry, who also is a wonderful media man, and there's a lot of art involved in media as well. So, past President Henry, according to you, what is art?
Art is an expression of feelings, commentary, as we see done by Mad and Gado and others. And it's also an expression of feelings as seen by most other artists. It can be in different forms: written, painting, music, dance, and other forms. Yeah.
My goodness, I think I will not have to ask a third individual because you've actually covered the entire meaning of art. So if you'll allow me to just read out, you know, we talk about virtual art and contemporary art and modern art, but according to a dictionary explanation of what art is, it is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. Another meaning which has come up is art is a highly diverse range of human activities engaged in creating visual, auditory, or performed artifacts or artworks that express the author's imaginative or technical skill and are intended to be appreciated for beauty or emotional power. To be honest, if you can see this image, which is projected on the screen, and you'll see all these beautiful words which have popped up: imaginations, feeling, inspiring, technique, unique, creation, drawing. Like also past President Henry mentioned, music, very importantly. So yes, I think it's very ambiguous. It's very difficult to explain what art is, but we all are engaged in some way or another of appreciation of art. So with that, I'd like to ask. Let me pick on Rotarian Keshi, if Keshi can hear me. Keshi, when did you first realize that you appreciate art in any form?
All right, sorry. I think when I was around class 3, because I appreciate spoken word and a lot of music. So yes.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing, Keshi. Yes, spoken word, and we'll also get to that at some point within this talk, because the reality is in Kenya, we have a lot of individuals who are very talented in the spoken word. So let me begin by letting you know a little bit about myself. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Rotarian Victor. But what I'd like to say is that I have been a fan of art since a very young age. And growing up, naturally, I was surrounded by music. My family, everyone loves listening to music, whether it was the music of the time, which was at that point pop music, rock music, or even classical music, because various members of my family were listening to all sorts of different genres of music, and music is art as well. But there are certain artists, if I talk about contemporary artists or imaginative artists or new age artists, there's so many, and I will actually talk about some of them as we progress with this particular talk. But I'd like to first talk about some classical artists whose paintings I really appreciate. So if you see on the screen towards the right-hand side, at the top is that beautiful painting of the pond. That's one of my favorite paintings by Claude Monet. Beneath is the painting by Paul Cézanne, I really appreciate. The Bouquet of Flowers is a neoclassical painting. It's from the early 1800s. It's by Edouard Manet. The next painting at the top you can see is by Gustav Klimt, and at the bottom is a painting by Vincent van Gogh. And there are very many master classical artists whose paintings I truly appreciate. And naturally, I think there are many individuals who have logged on to today's meeting who I'm sure if you had to go to a museum internationally, you would spend hours staring at these beautiful paintings, just trying to decipher that at that point in time, how did individuals even come up with the pigments which are not readily available as they are now commercially? So yes, so that's a little bit about the kind of art I have appreciated over time. Now, today's talk is about Kenyan art scene. So when Rotarian Victor asked me to talk a little bit about the Kenyan art scene, I actually immediately thought of one individual who came to my mind, and that is Elie Monjao. So if you can just unmute one or two individuals and let me know, who knows of Elie Mondiao?
Me.
Correct. Wonderful. Well, as an art collector, of course you would know. And I know he's a friend of yours as well. So if you can see at the top, towards the right, there's that beautiful oil painting, which is by Elie Mondiao. And at the bottom is a beautiful sculpture. Sculptures, as we have mentioned earlier, is also a form of visual art. And here is just a photograph showing some African drummers, some Kenyan drummers. And naturally, we know that Kenya has a very rich history. When we talk about even the evolution of human beings, it is a known fact that it has been documented that the Homo erectus species has actually been founded at the earliest within East Africa, in Kenya. So you can imagine art forms, whether it is drawings which have been carved into caves or stone, or even music. And, you know, sometimes it's good to contemplate that today we take for granted all these wonderful music instruments and string instruments and all that. But at some point in time, earlier on, when our predecessors were actually coming up with unique ways of coming up with the instruments, how did they even think about the membranes and, you know, how to attach them onto some kind of a body, which then will work as a percussion? And there's so much history and heritage, and we should actually dig deeper. And I'm sure the museums across Kenya, and I'm going to show you a list of them shortly, have a lot of history about how these artifacts or these musical instruments or the visual arts, the vocal arts, how all of them have actually come about in Kenya. But at the bottom, you'll see there's a photograph of that beautiful stone sculpture. And since Rotarian Kalpa has mentioned that she knows Elie Mondiao, I'm sure she will recognize that wonderful sculpture, which is found at Payapa, which is an art museum owned by Elie Mondiao. Right, so talking about Kenyan artists or artists who are from East Africa or around the world and have stationed themselves in Kenya and are now considered Kenyan artists. If you can kindly unmute one or two individuals, and since I cannot see the screen, meaning how many individuals are on, any two individuals can just tell me how many of these names on your left-hand side do you recognize? How many of you have heard of Rosemary Karuga, whose painting is at the top right, or Anthony Okello, Peter Elungata, I'm sure many of us, and Beatrice Wanjiru, Patrick Kinutia, Camille Wekesa. I mean, if you can look at the list of names which I've posted on the left-hand side, and this is just a couple of names which immediately came to my mind. If I'm to contemplate further, literally, we'd have many, many sheets of Kenyan artists, very renowned Kenyan artists. So this gives you an indication of how many well-established Kenyan artists we actually have stationed within Kenya, showcasing their artworks at various museums across East Africa or internationally, and across the galleries. And there are many galleries within Kenya. Talking about galleries, here is a list on the left-hand side of the galleries which are within Kenya. This is not an exhaustive list. It's just a short list of the galleries which came up in my mind immediately, because these are the ones I've usually visited to see the artworks of my many friends who happen to be Kenyan artists. So I will be sharing this presentation with Victor later on, so you can actually have a look and maybe search all these various galleries, because it's truly worth a visit. However, I'd like to say that some of these galleries have actually come up in the recent 5 years. And that is also an indication that there has been an increased appetite for artwork and for Kenyan artists. The reason being that there are certain galleries which have actually come up, and those galleries are self-funded by the artists. And the artists have realized that although it is not very cost effective to run your own gallery, the reasoning is that there are very many international visitors who actually come in searching to take an art piece besides the regular craft work which they collect when they visit places such as Mombasa, or when they visit Narok County. And, you know, usually we would assume that internationals want to take away the regular kiondo or the regular beadwork, but that has actually changed. They also, in addition to all that, which they gift to many individuals when they visit Kenya and they travel back home, they also want to take back something beautiful, a painting or a craft work to put on their walls. And that's a reality. So I'm going to show you some more paintings, which I've actually got the names of the painters beneath them to give you an indication of what kind of art these painters do. So these two paintings by Patrick Kinoti and Peter Lungat, the reason I have them first is from the current lot of painters, I truly appreciate and honor the work of Patrick Kinoti and Peter Lungat. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about these various artists, and there are so many of them. But what I'll say is that the mediums they use, as you can see, that it's not only isolated to oils or acrylics on canvas or watercolors on paper. It can also be craft work, stonework. It can be sculpting. And if you notice at the bottom of this particular slide, Joseph Bertis, this gentleman actually is known to create beautiful, thought-provoking pieces of art by actually collecting metalwork from scrapyards. And his art is actually auctioned at very high prices. To be honest with you, I remember being at an exhibition at some point, which was held by the KCDF, which is usually known to collect funds for development of the communities, the Kenya Community Development Foundation. And there's a gentleman who actually bid a huge amount for one of his pieces of work. So as you can see, all these various different types of paintings, and all these are Kenyan painters. And you can see that their styles, their method of art, it's a huge variance from each other. This slide, if you look to the left-hand side, that's a painting which is very joyful. And if you see it from a distance, you'll notice it's a field full of flowers. Now, the reason I have actually put that painting there is during the COVID pandemic, initially the art galleries could not hold exhibitions and could not showcase the works of the various artists. Although that changed almost immediately, because the moment the lockdown was lifted last year towards October, all the art galleries opened up and maintained social distancing and allowed individuals to pre-book and visit the various art galleries. However, this painting is by a wonderful painter who you might know of called Mary Collis. Now, something unique which Mary Collis did, and this is actually something which I found to be beautiful. She knew for a fact that people are going through mental turmoil during the COVID pandemic. People are having all sorts of negative thoughts. What's happening to the economy? What's going to happen to our families? What if we get this virus? What's happening to our jobs? Are we going to be able to put food on the table? What is happening around us? Is there going to be increased insecurity? So in the midst of all these tumultuous thoughts, which she knew everyone is going to be having at this point in time, she actually decided to hold an online exhibition on Facebook. And believe it or not, for 100 days, every single day, she posted a beautiful masterpiece which she has created. She's a very established artist, has hundreds of paintings, which are owned by individuals and collectors around the world. But what a unique idea. And trust me, if you read the Business Daily, and there is a wonderful writer who's also a member of Rotary Club of Nairobi, she's called Dr. Margareta Wagasheru, and I hope she's with us in the meeting today because I want to tell you a little bit about her as well. She actually wrote such a beautiful review about this online exhibition which took place on Facebook, because trust me, in the midst of all these tumultuous thoughts which everyone is having during the pandemic, imagine opening Facebook, which everyone usually did, and seeing a beautiful painting every day. Either the colors are going to appeal to you, or someone is going to see a beautiful field of flowers, making you imagine that, okay, why don't I go out in the garden and appreciate nature? So there was a lot which was happening throughout the pandemic as well. And on the right, you can see Art in the Park. And I'm sure Rotarian Winnie, who's joined in all the way from Germany, she resonates with Art in the Park. Art in the Park is something which happens on the Kenyan scene. And I actually got to make a lot of friends during that event. I believe Rotarian Kalpa, who's logged on, she also used to sponsor cheese for Art, Wine and Cheese in the park at Karura. So you can see the art scene in Kenya is very vibrant and it still continues. And as a matter of fact, the Rotary Club of Lavington Eco recently held a beautiful Art in the Park event at Arboretum, and it was a fundraising event. So why am I showing you this particular set of slides? Because now I'm showing you some of my watercolors. So if you can see, these are the kind of watercolors which I have recently done. And I just wanted to give you insight as to, yes, as I'm a business professional and I really am a mathematical individual, but still I've always had a fascination for art and colors. And these are some of my watercolors. So I'm not a trained artist per se, but I could sketch since I was a child, although I never took art as an elective. But what I realized is after my master's degree and after spending many years working in the corporate sector, I started taking on writing as a hobby, but I started getting a bit of fatigue. And I thought that, hold on, why don't I do something else, in my spare time in the evening? So my evening hobby became painting. And as you can see here, these are some photos from my exhibitions. And I have exhibited my art severally. At the top left is a painting of the sunrise. It's a watercolor. And that was my second feature in the Kenya Arts Diary, an acclaimed diary, which is sponsored by the Kitengela Glass Arts Foundation. And now I want to talk about Dr. Margareta Wagasheru. Like I mentioned, that I really hoped, I'm not quite sure whether she's logged on, but if she has, I'd like to call upon her later on. Dr. Margareta Wagasheru has actually done a thesis and has written a beautiful book on the transformation of contemporary Kenyan art. Now, many of you may not know this, but Dr. Margareta Wagasheru actually, if I'm to quote Hersita Waters, who is the director of Alliance Francaise, Hersita Waters, who is an art collector and an art aficionado, has gone on record once as mentioning in a descriptive manner that Dr. Margareta Wagasheru is the doyenne when it comes to matters of art in East and Central Africa. And it's a reality. And if you read all her blogs, or you see her videos on YouTube, or you read her articles, which have been in the East African, or in The Nation, or in Business Daily, you'll realize that she literally has showcased so many artists and has been the voice of the Kenyan art scene, whether it is visual, whether it is auditory. She has literally been the voice. And this is the Kenya Arts Diary 2019. And you can see on the first page, on the cover of the Kenya Arts Diary 2019, is that beautiful glass work. So how many of you have actually been to Kitengela Glass? if just one or two could unmute. How many have been to Kitengela Glasswork?
Good evening. I haven't been there, but I follow them and appreciate a lot of their work.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, so you see this beautiful mural, which is the cover of the Kenya Arts Diary 2019, is a massive piece of art, and it is by Kitengela. Nani Crows herself and a couple of the individuals who have been trained at Kitengela actually made it, and that too is art. And if you see towards the right is Visual Voices. The reason I want to show this is because in Kenya, we have had such a vibrant art scene, which many individuals would not know, to be honest. I'll be honest with you, even many individuals who love art, they may not know that we have so many prolific and renowned Kenyan artists that they're actually enough to make a huge coffee table book. And that's exactly what Susan Gituku did. And Susan Gituku, who owns Footprints Press and a good friend, she actually issued a beautiful 400-page book called Visual Voices. And it features prolific Kenyan artists, 57 of them. So with that, I would like to talk a little bit more about, sorry, that's the end of the slides, but I'd like to talk a little bit more about the Kenyan art scene. And what I'd like to tell you is, I know some questions can arise, like we have seen that in the Kenyan art scene, there are many components to it. It's about traditional crafts or stoneworks, sculpting, music. We haven't actually talked much about music, but I mean, in the Kenyan music scene, you can see so many prolific artists. I would recommend, try to have a listen to a wonderful artist called Phy, P-H-Y. And she's a wonderful upcoming Kenyan artist. When we talk about art in Kenya, like I mentioned earlier, that our ancestors or individuals who have actually created crafts well before this generation, much, much longer before. How many of you are aware of the East African Makonde art? Anyone? No one knows about the East African Makonde art? Try to look it up, because the Makonde tribe has been known to make some beautiful sculpted pieces out of soapstone, out of wood, out of stone and metal. And this predates many generations. So that's something to look up. And what else can I tell you about art in Kenya? You see, in the Kenyan art scene, the fact is that it's always been dynamic. And one thing which I know for a fact is that every time something drastic has happened, such as there was a plastic ban, which was created at some point by Cabinet Secretary Professor Judy Bakungu. It was a wonderful idea to actually ban plastics for the betterment of the environment. But what did the ingenious artists do? With the plastic ban, which is to combat climate change, what we did is we saw artists actually collect all the pieces of plastic and come up with creative toys and serviette holders and art pieces. If you might be aware, try to be a bit more vigilant when you're out and about and looking at all the wonderful artifacts which are on sale by the vendors, even the street vendors. And you might be surprised to note that they're so ingenious that with that ban coming on, they decided, why don't we just collect all these plastics or the metals and all that and try to make some artwork out of it? Another thing which is very interesting, you might have seen these beautiful, colorful animals which are being made out of various types of rubber. Have you seen those? Elephants, giraffes, rhinos made out of rubber. They're multicolored, and you might be aware that they're made out of slippers which are being collected from dump sites, from water, from lakes. So it's a cleanup activity, and the artists decide that why don't we make something beautiful out of it? And if you go along Mombasa Road, or you go along Uhuru Highway, and you start seeing these beautiful animals which are made out of metals, many of those animals are actually made out of metal which has been saved from the scrapyards. And artists have been given some kind of a livelihood in order to come up with beautiful animals to showcase the Big Five, so that when the tourists visit Kenya, they get to see these wonderful animals. So the art scene in Kenya is very dynamic, and there are many art galleries. I know I did not read the names out, but there are very many art galleries. And just to bring my talk to a conclusion, I can say that there are many questions of how art is priced, and maybe I can share a bit on that. Naturally, I can also share with you the different kind of partnerships which artists have had over time in order to showcase their art to the internationals. So in terms of pricing of art, which I'll keep very quick, is usually what happens is it's very difficult to price art. Art is usually something which a buyer is willing to buy at a certain price which they see has that value for the art. So usually what happens is when an artist actually is selling paintings at a certain amount, and it's actually being bought at a certain amount, such as Peter Lungat's paintings being quite expensive, or Beatrice Wanjiku's paintings being quite expensive, or Patrick Kinuthia, or Adrian Duma. These are individuals who are world-renowned. And the fact is that once international bidders or local bidders have paid a certain amount for their paintings, naturally that becomes the stencil price for their paintings. So it's a very difficult question. You know, individuals ask me about on the finance aspect, is art valuable? And I say, yes, art is valuable, because what you're doing ideally is you're buying a piece of the artist's life. As a hobby artist, or as a watercolorist, when I sell a watercolor painting, that is actually time of my life, you know. And what I can also share with you is there are many auctions which have also taken place. So Circle Art Gallery is known to have prolific auctions. Intercontinental, which has actually closed down, used to have art gallery auctions as well in the past. And some organizations such as the Kenya Community Development Foundation, they usually hold art auctions for the community development of the youth. And there are many poets. I'd like to mention Joanne Sikand, who's also a Rotarian at Rotary Club of Nairobi, is a wonderful poet, a poetess. How many of you have heard of Michere Gitai Mugo? No, right. So there's a lot of homework. You see, these are all homegrown Kenyan wonderful artists, and these are playwrights. I'm talking about poets. Have you heard of Mumbi Macharia? Beautiful poets and poetesses. So you can see that we have such an immense reservoir of talent in Kenya, which is also being showcased. And when we talk about Kenya Arts Diary, it was the brainchild of Nani Crows and Eric Cristal, the late Eric Cristal, and they own Kitengela and Kitengela Foundation. They actually went into a powerful partnership with some individuals, and I think Dr. Margareta Wagasheru, who's a member of our club and is known, like I mentioned, to be the doyen of the arts scene in East and Central Africa. She actually took it upon herself to be the editor and to find 50 upcoming artists every single year to showcase their work. And the Kenya Arts Diary became a collector's item. So every time someone from East Africa travels to Kenya, across East Africa, from our neighboring countries, or even the Kenyan art lovers, the book used to literally sell out. And on each page, you get to see an upcoming artist. And it became the voice of the upcoming artists. And later on, they went into partnership with Alliance Francaise and the Heinrich Böll Stiftung and other organizations. So you can imagine the kind of exposure internationally. So the Kenyan art scene, one meeting is not enough for me to actually explain much about it, but I think this has given you a gist that there is so much which is happening, and it's still happening on the Kenyan art scene. So with that, I'd like to say, I would like to invite some questions.
Sorry, my internet connection. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Ritesh, for that wonderful presentation. I think I've also been enlightened about art, and I'm looking forward to explore more about art. I'd like to open the floor for questions to Ritesh. If you have a question, please raise your hand, or you can post it on the chat. I have seen here, Corinne had asked something. Have you heard about the home art gallery? I think that's, if Corinne, do you mind expanding on your question?
Good evening, Ritesh. Thank you. That is very enlightening. I think I'm a lover of art, but I realize I know nothing. This is a good place to start. You're quite knowledgeable. I think I also started exploring during COVID, and also as a way of mental wellness, exploring art. And that's when I started, I guess, maybe just getting to know what happens. And there's somebody who started doing home art galleries, I guess, because of the lockdown, and hosted one somewhere along, is it on Riverside? And that's when I started learning about home art galleries. And there were still quite some good pieces being sold, and that was very amazing. Yeah. So I don't know whether that's something that's growing in Kenya.
It actually is. Thank you, Corinne. And I'm so delighted to learn that you're actually someone who appreciates art. I mean, it's an indication, especially since you're saying that you've actually been to a home art exhibition. It's a fact, many individuals in different neighborhoods. I know for a fact of many neighborhoods where they've held certain tea parties, and they've organized for very curated number of artists to showcase some works, either by putting a marquee up in the garden or actually inviting the paintings to be exhibited within the walls of the home. Rarely, but it's happened. And these home art exhibitions have been happening actually for quite a while. I know certain neighborhoods where they actually try to hold tea events to get together, and they invite 2 or 3 painters to actually exhibit just for the sake of getting together and appreciating art. So it's a fact, and it does happen.
Oh, well, thanks for that. And maybe just, I don't know, just based on that, and I just wanted to ask in terms of where direction is in Kenya. For me, I think art is a whole, I don't know, for art, as we said, we have painters, we have music, we have poets, and I envision, you know, maybe events or serious collaborations. I don't know where the government and culture is going with this, but I know there's a lot being planned. I just wanted to find out where is the right place to plug in. You know, for me, I also see supporting artists who are upcoming. There are people in the slum who do quite some good art, but don't know where to go to. Like there's a group of girls who are doing art, to talk about menstrual flow, and they're doing some very good paintings. And I just wanted to know, where can we start? We wanted to auction this to support them, to get sanitary towels. Where can we start?
Okay, so you see, with informal settlement areas and the artists who are upcoming from them, from areas like Kibera, Dandora, Huruma, Matare, there's some fantastic artists, honestly, and there are actually foundations which have an outreach. You'll be surprised that there are some foundations who have actually partnered, art foundations who have partnered with individuals who have access to the informal settlement areas, such as some organizations which are doing some work like Shofco and other certain organizations. They have partnered with individuals who are looking out for upcoming artists, whether it is graffiti art or whether it is paintings. And I think that the answer to your question is a bit tricky, because there is no one place where we can actually begin, right? When we talk about the government's involvement, the fact is that the Ministry of Culture and Sport actually have a budget which is allocated towards the empowerment and the education of individuals within that particular field. And there are certain initiatives and outreaches which are taking place, simultaneously without our knowing. But if you as an individual would like to support them, then what I can suggest is why not come up with a certain event? Usually artists have one challenge, that they have the art to showcase, but they do not have the funds for the venue. They do not have the funds to advertise, and they do not have the means to get the crowds to come and see the work as good as the art is, because they may not have access to social media. So I think what we can do is we can actually partner maybe as even Rotary clubs to provide a particular venue, locate it for 2 weeks, try to advertise and use our contacts to actually market and get the individuals to come and see their work for a duration of 2 weeks, per se. You know, we could even try with Kenyatta International Conference Center, get a good rate, because that is where organizations like us have to plug in, because we have to also look at a way to get them supplies, because you know you could have fantastic artists, but art is, let's put it correctly, art is a very expensive. If someone doesn't have the means of actually purchasing the supplies, it's all going to sustain, and you never know where the art is going to sell. So we can plug in.
All right, thanks for that challenge.
Thank you so much, Ritesh. There is a question here from Innocent. He says, this was very mind-opening, especially for me who is interested in the art as a side income. I've been interacting with artists down at railways before the Mombasa Road Westlands construction took foot. I wanted to know if there are statistics, numbers, or estimates about the regular and upcoming artists rather than those already recognized internationally. And also, how does an artist earn a living besides auctions and exhibitions?
Thank you very much indeed, Innocent. And this is a very good question. The reason being, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for raising this. There are a couple of questions you've raised. And you've been interacting with artists down at railways before the Mombasa Westlands road construction took place. And it's true, artists who actually were showcasing in certain places which are affected by construction and all, they have been impacted greatly. There's no denying it. And COVID has had a multiplier effect, because even the walk-in clients and everything have depleted. And one fact is, every single industry, now I'll bring my finance into it, being an economist. There is no economy which is unscathed. Every single economy has been affected by the COVID pandemic. So naturally, what usually happens when your income goes down? When the income goes down, you have to just make sure that at least you're catering to the necessities. So at that point in time, you start wondering, is art a necessity? If individuals are going to have a limited resource to expend and limited income, then are they going to expend on art? So it's been a tricky. I think art has been hit greatly by a multiplier effect of many things happening within the economy and also by the COVID pandemic. You wanted to know if there are statistics, numbers, or estimates within Kenya. I wish that was a possibility. I'm not sure whether an extensive research and survey has been carried out of late. Not that I would know. And this is the point where I will admit that I wish Dr. Margareta Wagasheru was present with us today for this talk, because she actually might have known the answer to this question. From what I have read, it's difficult to come with statistics because there's not, a survey has probably not been carried out of late. And how does an artist earn a living besides auctions and exhibitions? This is where I think I'm going to say something which might be controversial. And the controversial aspect is, unless they have a teaching job, unless they have another means of sustaining their livelihood, because, you know, art is a passion, and sometimes it's very easy for an artist to be consumed by this passion of art and to carry on wanting to keep on buying supplies and doing art. But at the same time, if the art is not selling, then what, I mean, it's beyond their control. And I've actually noticed, have you heard of a wonderful painter known as Jack Katarikawe? He was a Ugandan painter who was stationed in Kenya. And his artworks are phenomenal. And he died impoverished about 2 years ago, 2 years ago. He died impoverished. And lo and behold, upon his demise, I know for a fact that from the various art galleries, there was such a huge demand for his art. It was surprising. Everyone was asking, Isaji Amiti, Tribal Art Galleries, Circle Art Gallery, everyone was asking, do you happen to have a piece of Jack Katarikawa's work? I want to buy it. So, I mean, what's the value once he's actually died impoverished? So I don't know whether I've actually given a clear answer to your questions, but it's difficult. It's difficult to gauge. But definitely, they do need another means. To be prudent, they need to have another means of earning a living.
Thank you so much, Ritesh, for that. A comment here by Winnie. My question has been answered in regard to the artists who dwell in the slums. How can we help them? Thank you, Ritesh, for the great answer. As Rotarians, we should create a platform to help them showcase their work. And I think this is something that is quite easy for Rotarians to do. And I think it's something that as clubs, we should definitely take up. I think my question would be in terms of the art scene, how is it? Okay, this is just my feeling, is that it sort of appears exclusive. How is it that it's not, is it that somebody has to have interest, or is it that the reach from the artist is not as large? How do the masses get to know about what the artists are doing and where they're showcasing? Because I think I've learned a lot about the galleries. I just happened to chance to see a gallery maybe in a mall, maybe, or somewhere, but it's not very easy to find information about galleries and stuff. Yeah.
You know, President Wilson, I have an interesting answer for this, actually. What has happened is, in this advent of social media, and to be honest with you, I actually sometimes come across advertise that in the United Nations ground there was an exhibition. This was pre-COVID, or in Karura there was an exhibition, and I think to myself, oh, I wish I knew earlier. But the reality is there are so many art exhibitions and stalls which are being put up by artists as pop-up galleries, whether it's Tribal Art Gallery, whether it is, I mean, everywhere. So all I can say is that if you try to just do a search on Facebook and you try to see what's happening on the Kenyan art scene, and some of those pages actually have this beautiful thumbs up like button. And I actually noticed that if I need to know what's happening besides the exhibitions of KCDF, besides the exhibition of the the legitimate art galleries, which you have to actually subscribe via email for their newsletters, I know for a fact that Facebook has become joy of joys for the art world, because individuals like even Art in the Park, and I remember Rotarian Winnie tagging me recently for Art in the Park, which was taking place in Karen, although I couldn't attend. If you just scroll through Facebook, and you'll probably come across a lot of, what the artists are going to be doing in pop-up galleries. So it's worth a try.
Thank you so much. Lastly, I think this is the last question we'll take from Biama. I've seen Kenyan artists with great, beautiful works. Why is it that they don't fetch the deserved sums like international artists when it comes to the selling the artwork? Is it that their certain standards haven't been met, or what?
This is a very good question, David. Because you see, what happens is we start looking at international art, and we see all these wonderful, articles online that a John Rothko painting has gone for X million dollars, or Sotheby's have auctioned some kind of a painting. But you see, those are paintings which either they are classical paintings from a certain era, or they're new paintings, but they have provenance, meaning that some artist's work at some point was bought by, let's say, Rockefeller, and he held it in one of the offices. So naturally, their art is going to be more expensive, because people will immediately think, hold on a minute, if Rockefeller or the politicians and all are actually buying his art, so naturally their art is expensive. So I'll bring that back into context in Kenya. If you see the artwork of Beatrice Wanjiku, or if you see the artwork of Adrian Duma, or Patrick Kinuthia, or Peter Elongat, or there are many artists whose artwork will only sell at premium price, or if it's not fetching a certain price, they will not sell it. The reason being, their artworks have actually been bought at an X amount at some point, and they've actually set the value of their paintings at that amount. And you might see individuals who are doing beautiful paintings as well, but their art is not selling. And that is why we need to, as art lovers, start encouraging them. And even if it means that we are buying a local art at a price which is perhaps, luckily for the buyers, not the price of other very expensive artists, but we should actually encourage. And the more we actually start buying the artworks which we know should be priced a certain range, the demand for that painter's artwork itself will warrant that the price will be taken up. Demand and supply once again.
Okay, thank you so much. My past president will claim if you don't answer this question. Ritesh, if you were to recommend trainings for artists, which areas would you suggest? Any existing are there any existing partnerships? This is from Henry.
Yes, past president Henry, thank you for this wonderful suggestion of partnerships. I think this question is very interesting because in the past there have been partnerships for training, definitely. And it's a bit tricky because I do know that there were certain schools which used to hold summer classes, and they used to be inviting individuals from informal settlement areas as well, and they used to teach them, art. And I'm not sure whether that actually happens anymore since the past 2 or 3 years. But allow me to do some research into this. I know that there are certain, like Alliance Francaise actually is very passionate about art, so they might be doing something. And I know that some artists such as Adrian Duma at Bonzo Art Gallery or some other art galleries, they actually occasionally do call in certain artists and or potential artists, and they do teach them, techniques and all that. So I'm sure that if we dig a bit deeper, we'll actually get to know which partnerships will be viable and which ones we can actually be involved with as Rotarians as well. I think that's the question. I'm reading into it. Maybe that's the question.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. Thank you so much for answering those questions. Thank you guys for engaging with the Rotarian research. I would like now to invite Rotarian Joel Wandura, VP, to give a vote of thanks to our speaker.
Again, thank you, Ritesh, for that very wonderful presentation. As you are displaying your paintings, they reminded me of maybe Menoha, a famous artist from America called Georgia O'Keeffe. She used to do very wonderful watercolor paintings in the style that you are done, which is quite impressive. The art scene is growing, and it's good to see passionate people like yourself trying to impact knowledge on some of us. Some of us have had the experience of being exposed. I was in Makerere, and as you know, they have a wonderful industrial and fine arts school. It's called the Margaret Roll School, which was dedicated for a lady who introduced fine art into East Africa. We hope that we shall be able to visit some of these galleries very soon and experience some of the joy that the paintings have brought to your life, and see if it can be translated into our lives. Once again, we thank you for taking time and for sharing your thoughts and your artwork with us. Thank you. I would recommend Circle Art Gallery for anybody who wants to visit a gallery and sample some of those artists that he was talking about. It's on, it's in Lavington, opposite, near where Ebru TV used to be. Thank you very much.
Yes, James, sure. Okay, thank you so much, Joel, for that. Now I would like to move forward to ISA. I'd like to invite ISA for the day, Rotarian Stalin Moses. Stalin.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So I will start with I will start with a joke. Today, I hope, today I will tell a joke on working at home. So, boss, I called you. Your wife picked the phone and told me that you were cooking. Why didn't you call me back? Employee, I called you back, sir. Your wife picked the phone and told me you were washing clothes. And that's the joke. Okay, so we'll move straight to fines. I'll start with myself for being late. And anyone else who's been late, please submit your dollar to the pay bill displayed on the screen. As you do that, we'll also move to the third segment of SAA, which is happy dollar and sad dollar. Just to explain briefly, this is you tell us of your blessings for this day, or your what made you sad this week by paying for the airtime. So $1 is 100 shillings. So anyone, please raise your hands. Yes, Ritesh, please.
I think I'd just like to give 10 happy dollars for the opportunity to be with you today at Rotary Club Madaraka. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, David Piama, I can see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yes, Stalin. I actually have 3 happy dollars. First and foremost actually goes to Ritesh. Has been such a fantastic speaker, and the artwork he's taken us through has been amazing. I mean, I'm like, I need to discover this side of Nairobi and Kenya when it comes to artists and what they can offer. The second is actually had a fantastic time with Rotaractors from AFIA, and that's something that I'm proud about. And the third one is being a Monday, being actually the best day of the week. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see Sami Malakai, please.
And
thank you very, very much, SAA.
And I don't want those jokes. No, you just get into bed and sleep. To stop funny thoughts. Funny.
Hello, Biama. You're
sorry, who's Biama? Okay.
I guess it's bedtime. People
okay, Malachi, please go ahead.
Yeah, I have 5 happy dollars. For the weekend, it was great to be at the Rotaract installation, and for those who went to Embu. The other 3 happy dollars are for the guest speaker. IPP Ritesh and I were classmates last year as presidents. So it's been really a fun meeting, and he always challenges us to be better than what we're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I also wish to give my 3 happy dollars in appreciation of immediate past President Ritesh. It's not often these days that you listen to a speaker and realize how much you don't know, and I want to join Corinne in acknowledging that indeed I thought I knew, I've realized I don't know, and I have a reason to learn now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Henry? Do we have anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. So I will also give my 5 happies. I'll give my 3 happies and 2 sad dollars. So for the happy dollars is for the presenter. He did a good job. I appreciate. I've learned a lot. And then for the sad dollars is because I did not manage to attend the painting of the blackboard. So do we have a last one? Okay, back to you, Mr. President.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rotarian Stallion. Myself, I'll have 5 happy dollars. Our first happy dollar goes to IPP Ritesh for the amazing talk. And thank you so much for gracing our club. I think it's been a while since I've seen members from Rotary Club of Nairobi attending our fellowship. So I'm very honored that the mother of all clubs has represented us, has some representation in our meeting today. Glad to have that. Second happy dollar goes to a project that we did in Embu over the weekend. It was fun. We gave back what we could, and we had fellowship the Rotarians from the region, Embu Novel, Embu Rotaractors. It was quite a fun activity. Happy dollar also goes to the installation of the new president of Rotaract Club of UN Afia. Congrats, Winnie and the team. And for the handover ceremony overseen by some of our club members, including Biama. Thank you so much for representing. I think it's also a sad dollar that I didn't go for that installation, but I look forward to engaging with them in the future. So once again, thank you. Lastly, let me give a shout. Keshia says she has 2 happy dollars for the guest speaker, and I think a number of Rotary Nairobi members on call, so it's good. So thank you so much, everyone, for this session. We're looking forward to engaging with you as we go along. So I would like to do a final toast as we close the meeting. So if you have a glass, charge it. If you don't, hand over heart. So in conjunction with the Rotary Clubs of Nairobi, Rotary Club of Nairobi UN Afia, Rotary Club of Embu Novel Information, and the Rotary Club of Nairobi the Rotary Club of Crystal City in the USA, and the Rotary Club of Nairobi Madaraka. I give you Rotary and the world over.
Rotary and the world over.
Rotary and the world over.
Rotary the world over.
Thank you so much. I now call this meeting to a close. So sleep well, be safe, stay warm, and we'll catch you during our next meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. Thanks. Bye.